Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the SCG 25K Team Trios event. My name is Will Hall, better known on the internet as the Will Hall EXP, and I'm joined by a GP winner, a four-time top eighter, the one and only Jarvis Yu, and we're going to be taking you through round number 2 of this Team Trios. Remember that is Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy. I'm not entirely sure which seat we're going to be covering this round, but it's always going to be Modern or Legacy all weekend long. We're not going to worry about the Pioneer too much. We've seen a lot of that in the RC season. We're one round down already. That's where we're going to stick with the team that managed to take that down. That is going to be Grixis Delver and Golgari Yawgmoth, at least for the next round. And they're just getting seated. They're just kind of shuffling up, getting ready to go, and we're going to get the word when we're ready to go down there. Jarvis, after that first round, anything taking your fancy, soothing your juices if you had to sit in the Modern seat, let's say, because normally you play a bit of a Legacy?
No. I mean, like,
No.
well, the thing is, the Yawgmoth scam matchup is just kind of lopsided. I don't think the new cards really changed that very much, and that's sort of just borne out in the game we watched. Like, Elliot was already down in game, so it's going to be hard to get out of that hole. Maybe there's some sideboard cards I'm not thinking of that, push the matchup a little bit more favorably, but it's just, Dothy, Voided Walker plus Fury plus Undying Mouse is a huge problem for the Yawgmoth deck.
Do you tend to be the player that you just pick up the best deck and just carry on, or do you try and attack the best deck, like trying to go against the meta?
I would say it depends on what mood you find me in and what decade you found me in is a better way of putting it. I think when I was first starting out, I was very tempted to just try to pick something that lined up well versus the best deck. But I think nowadays, the good cards are really good, is how I would put it.
Okay, well that's us. We're going to move straight down there. Obviously, we saw Elliot last round. Did have a bit of a hard one. See if he can pull it back. It looks like he's against Trey Tyson on Boros Burn. Also, not a great matchup for Yawgmoth, but we'll see how it pans out as we're going to go off to the races here. Elliot will be on the play, but no turn one play. Where on the other side, Trey's going to slam in with that Goblin Guide and reveal themselves a delighted halfling. Ideally, Elliot would like to have played that in turn one.
Yeah, I think this matchup is a lot better for Yawgmoth than the scam matchup is, mostly because I think the blocking creatures matter a lot more.
Yeah, it's kind of where Burn gets its advantage from, right? Having the reoccurring damage that's really cheap on the battlefield, and then they finish you off with their handful of burn spells. Can be very efficient and just, working off one land for a couple of turns if needs be. But then on the flip side, that is quite scary over on Elliot's side. That means it's just all gas over on Trey's side. But we'll see what happens here. We are going to get in with this Goblin Guide. We're going to reveal a redundant Strangleroot Geist on top of the deck. Strangleroot Geist does have Undying. Talk to me about Undying and how key that is in this deck.
Pretty key, and this is the explanation for offering that trade. I think normally if trade didn't have Searing Blaze here, this would be an extremely bad exchange, but the Undying mechanic is basically what allows Yawgmoth to loop two Undying creatures with each other with Yawgmoth. Basically, you get a Necropotence type of effect by removing the +1/+1 counter every time.
Yeah, it goes back and forth, and that's with the combo moment. Here comes the second Strangleroot that we knew about, and the Halflings. These are both cards that Trey knew about from the top of the deck off Goblin Guide, and we're going to start getting in there with Strangleroot beats. I love this. The amount of games I've won with just Strangleroot beatdowns and not the combo, but it's always something that's got to be on Trey's mind, right? Or if you're sat against Yawgmoth, it's okay, they were a combo deck, I've got to stop the combo, but then you just end up losing to beat down of these little dirtly and dying creatures. As over on Trey's side, we're going to play a land for the turn. Here comes a Suspended Rift Bolt. Obviously, suspend means we don't cast it this turn, but next turn we get to cast it in our upkeep. And here's the Vital Fourth land drop, but we do have a halfling on the battlefield, so we do have 4 mana that we need to if we want to deploy the Yawgmoth. Let's have a little look if that's the way we want to go. Are you still here, Jarvis? You are.
Yeah, I think I was trying to figure out what Elliot's thinking about. I think the primary thing he's thinking about is it better to play land, say go, don't attack, cord for 3, getting some sort of piece, and then playing Yawgmoth? Because suppose you get Zulport Cutthroat, and your opponent's tapped out. You can sort of do the Undying stuff, while staying at the same life total, and that is a huge problem for Trey.
I'm gonna see if I can get the deck lists up. Let's see if we've got any sort of way of gaining life in the main. Just have a little get it out second. Can I find it? No, I can't. Work out, but the main ways to gaining life in this deck is sometimes they have like there's an innkeeper floating around to get incremental damage that way. There could be a scavenging ooze in the deck. This is obviously game one, so there's no sideboarded shenanigans can happen where they can have life gaining effects. But just even on that, just like a blood artist effect could just be enough just to keep some damage
Right.
chipping over. As comes the suspended riftbolt off suspend, 3 damage to Elliot's face, dropping him down to 9, which adds up really nicely when all your burn spells do 3 damage.
I think
Damn.
Elliot is trying to see if he can win this turn. I believe if you draw another undying creature literally this turn, maybe we can do enough to find a second undying creature. So basically, Elliot doesn't want to be at 3 life, but you can chord for Blood Artist or Zolport Cutthroat first to jumpstart the chain. Basically, if you get the Cutthroat first, and Trey doesn't have Lightning Bolt, all of your Yawgmoths pay for themselves in terms of life. And I think that's what we're going to see happen here.
Yep, it's going to be for 2. I think you're right. This is the main deck way of gaining life in this deck after having a little look-see at it. There is one Gilded Goose. Potentially, we could have got that, and that brings along with it a food token, which again, it's mana intensive. But it's also in the tables if Trey does have that lightning bolt to go point it towards one of the creatures instead of Elliot's face, right? And that's got to be a win for Elliot.
Oh yeah, any bolt that's not at his face is good for him. Also, Elliot might just have lethal even without the second undying creature stuff nonsense. Let's see.
Let's have a little look at what goes on here. So I think we just passed the turn back. We don't need to, do anything. Start this this trigger happening. We're going to respond to the burn spells. At least 2 cards left in hand for Trey on the right. Here comes the Searing Blaze with the land drops. This will be 3 damage to Elliot's face, and this is what's going to start the chain off, so to speak, of sacrificing a creature and losing 1 life because one's died. It is now going to be gaining 1 life as well as Trey on the other side losing 1. This is kind of the combo, right? Talk us through that, how we're potentially 1 undying creature off from this being a thing right now.
So basically, if you have 2 undying creatures, you can use Yawgmoth to reset the first one that has a +1/+1 counter on it, and then sort of just loop them back on each other each time you pay 1 life and draw a card. With the Cutthroat, it would be you wouldn't pay any life. So basically, the Cutthroat basically completes it and makes it basically you can draw as many cards as you want in your deck. Here, obviously, we don't have a second undying creature. What we're going to do is just respond a bunch and draw a bunch of cards because the life loss is paid for by the Cutthroat.
Yep. So once this is all said and done, so we're losing 1 life, gaining 1 life, losing 1 life, gaining 1 life. Once this Searing Blaze resolves, I believe that we'll be taking 3 damage, dropping down to 3, and then the trigger will go on the stack of another, gaining 1 life. Potentially, Trey could respond to that. I guess we'll see how that kind of pans out. I'm trying to think if there's a line where we could have gone for it last turn from Elliot. We had the Cutthroat untapped, we had Yawgmoth untapped, we had Strangleroot.
So
Geist untapped, did we?
no, well, it wasn't untappable. We could easily untap it. I think the danger with that is Elliot
This card, it's
just
the lightning bolt.
oh yeah, that was the primary issue. I think the other issue is I think the primary issue is you should just not initiate. You don't really need to because if you get to your next turn with everything untapped, your opponent dies by so much that it's not even really worth starting anything.
Interesting. So we're gonna see this stack kind of laid up here.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
So this is something that you see a lot of big stacks in Legacy. No, now seeing one in Modern here. So the underneath that not the Rift Bolt, the Searing Blaze at the bottom is going to be the card you see there moving to the top of your deck. There's a little bit Cutthroat. That is now going to be sacked in response to all of these sort of triggers, I believe. So our life total is going to go up to 7, and then this is kind of filtering around. Now this resolves. That's the other trigger, I believe.
So I think that means Elliot was actually at 7, and then Searing Blaze will drop him to 4, so the only out would be Boros Charm, but Trey didn't have enough mana for that.
Well, we scooped it up anyway, so unfortunately for Ellie, again, he manages to lose that game 1. But let's have a little, see if I can have a look at his sideboard up, see if he's got anything in the board that could kind of help this up. We've got like Hexwire Might, not great, but does gain us a little bit of life. Big one is Scavenging Ooze. I imagine that's probably the main card coming in. Anything else? Have you got the deck list up in front of you? Can you see what's going on? Anything you like there?
I like Endurance as a blocker. I like Fatal Push because it's cheap interaction. Hero Might's pretty good. There's Sideboard Ignoble Herix. That's interesting. I think I would be inclined to have this in just because doing things faster matters the most. I think the weak link in your deck is actually Orcish Bowmaster versus Burn. I don't think it does very much. And yeah, indeed, I think Elliot did take game 1 versus the Burn deck.
You think like he just scooped it up and then it was like, well, I've got you on the backswing. Okay, cool. So Trey manages to go a game down there, and Elliot does take it down. Okay, maybe I misheard. Thank you very much, chat, for pointing that out. As always, I remember Cutthroat does have all these extra triggers that go along with it. We keep forget that. And sorry, carry on with your sideboarding you're talking about.
Yeah, basically all of the cheap cards, acceleration, a small amount of interaction. I think Pile-On may come in, I'm not sure. I don't play a lot of the Yawgmoth deck, but it's a fine removal spell to have access to. And I think generally if you remove their creatures from the burn deck, given you're also a creature deck, you can very easily just turn the corner and hope to win out.
Yeah, well, we should see Elliot obviously being on the play there, pretty big. Didn't have the turn 1 mana accelerant. It was just land go, but being able to be that 1 turn ahead of Burns really, gave him realistically in that game the extra turn that was needed to get those last little points across. So over on Trey's side, I haven't managed to get the deck list up yet, but any sort of like key cards that Burn plays that you want to be bringing in against these Yawgmoth decks?
Oh, let me take a real quick look if I can find it.
Yeah, I'm also struggling to find the deck list at the minute.
Sec.
We'll see if we can get. Obviously, I imagine the main things that people get drawn towards is some things like Graveyard Hate, because obviously the Graveyard aspect of Undying. That's kind of how the combo would work. How do you normally see? If I can exile it while it's in its graveyard, the Undying trigger doesn't resolve because there's no creature there for it to come back. So that's how that one pan out. You got a deck list up yet?
Yeah, I found it.
Okay, go for it.
I think potentially the cards you'll see are Summoner Path to Exile and perhaps Exquisite Firecraft. The other cards in Trey's sideboard are Sanctifier Invect, Chalice of the Void, Wear Tear, and Smash to Smithereens. But I'm not keen on Sanctifier as much as other people. Yes, Elliot is a black deck, but he's mostly a green deck more than anything else. I kind of think Sanctifier doesn't really do much.
No, I believe is it also a human, so it still can't even block Yawgmoth if Yawgmoth was attacking. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't think this is the matchup for it. Actually, looking, there's no Undying black creatures. That we used to play Messenger back in the day, but we don't anymore.
Messenger, yeah.
Both players are off to the races. Trey starting off with a Taylor Swift spear here, coming across for 1 point damage. Ellie on the other side with a great 1 drop of their own, Young Wolf. Normally, this is you look at this on paper and it's like, okay, it's just a 1/1 for 1 with Undying, but of course in this deck can be used to great effect. Trey missed the second land drop, but does suspend a Rift Bolt.
Ooh.
And now Elliot's like, well, here's my guys, and go.
This is an excellent draw for Elliot. Assuming he has anything else good to do, this is exactly the type of start you want.
And this is why the Yawgmoth deck kind of struggles against decks that have Fury in, right? It's for these sort of draws here. They split out all these little like small weenie guys on the battlefield. Fury cleans them all up and back to scratch. But his Trey did manage to get their second land drop on turn number 3, 1 game down. Going to start off the turn by attacking with this Swift Spear. Here comes the Searing Blaze. It's going to deal with the Wall of Roots that did jump in front of it. 3 damage goes towards Elliot's face, and that is going to be them down for the turn, I believe.
I actually think Searing Blaze is probably the most important card for Burn in this matchup because it deals damage to 2 things instead of 1 thing. A, the player that you want it to, and B, it removes like a key piece of acceleration.
Yeah, things that Yawgmoth need, right? We need a lot of creatures on the battlefield, but then you also need to be going face. If I'm using lightning bolts towards ignoble highworks, that lightning bolt is not going towards Elliot's face where I need it to happen. Because obviously, we all know that burn is basically just life control, and you know we need to get there. And it decides you want to turn this young wolf sideways or not. In the tank, I do see an elvish, an orcish bowmaster in hand. Also a Yawgmoth. That might be where you want to deploy it because it does have protection from humans on it. And I believe the Swiss Spear does have creature type humans, but we're not going to go that route. We're just going to play the cutthroat out. Interesting play here. You know, see where you want. I think we're leaving up the orcish bowmaster here,
Yeah.
potentially, you know, trying to get some triggers with the cutthroat, but we'll see if that pans out. Because remember, playing cutthroat early means it's vulnerable to removal spells now, right? And if it goes to the graveyard, it's kind of hard for us to get it back out of it. Not impossible, but you know, there's things like endurance that could be floating around. But is a key combo piece normally.
I think Elliot doesn't mind too much if it gets killed here. I think he just wants to play two separate creatures to not be so vulnerable to Path Exile. Because suppose you play the 4-drop and Trey has Path here, it lines up a lot worse for you.
That's going to be a Rift Bolt to the face. Trigger on the Swift Spear. Move to combat. 2 damage going to your face. And this is where we're going to play the Bowmaster here. That Bowmaster, one of the new cards from the Lord of the Rings set. It is a 1/1 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, it gets to do 1 point of damage to target creature or player or permanent, I suppose it would say on there. And it also amasses as we worked out today, a Orc army. Here's the token that comes along with it. It's going to be a 1/1. And for each other card besides the first card your opponent draws, it gets extra triggers. And here is the Path to Exile with 4 blockers. It's going to be, you know, that did come in out of the board, like you said. That's the second trigger on the Swift Spear. Now, as we move to combat, I believe the amass token was the one that was thrown inside in front of it. Now, on the other side, Trey trying to work out a bit of math. He's doing the old keyboard dance. I've been known to do that a few times myself. What about you?
I don't really know what you mean by keyboard dance, I guess.
You don't know about the keyboard dance where you just tap your fingers on the table like for no reason. You're like pretending you're kind of doing math, like it helps, but it doesn't really. It's like you're playing the piano.
Oh, I don't do that, no.
Oh, just me then. Just me and Trey just sitting
Oh,
there
no,
playing
no,
our empty keyboards.
I think a lot of people do that, but I don't.
Do you have any weird sort of like like tricks when you're at the table? Do you do like the pen spinning, or you just straight up sit down, play a match, fully focused?
I think I've asked people about this. I usually just like mess with my hair. Like I kind of like slowly pull it out, which is not great for my hair.
No, that is not good. I don't recommend that way, but here we go. Okay, so it looks like we're going to follow up with a Yawgmoth. That's obviously going to be the ideal blocker here. Trey getting a little bit flooded. 4 land is not where the burn deck wants to be at 5 life. A lot of damage on the other side of the battlefield. If we want to go that route and just 1 card in hand, obviously, if we draw another card, the Bowmaster is going to be drawn. But you know, if our last card is going to be a Path to Exile is quite a good one to have. That's a nice clean answer to this Yawgmoth. And I believe all the basics are on the battlefield. They don't play too many. I think okay, we got 1 more basic forest unless it is in hand in the deck. The deck kind of floats between 3 to 4 basics, depending on what build you want to go with. We're deciding, do we want to be using the sacrifice ability here at all? But of course, that would drop us into that proper little threshold of 6 life, increments of 3 and not where you want to be against burn. But when burn players on 5 life, 1 creature on the battlefield, no more cards in hand, it could be anyone's game still. Elliot gets to untap. I see a redundant copy of Yawgmoth, and that was an endurance off the top.
That's probably going to be the check mark, because I think Elliot is definitely going to try to kill Trey with this endurance.
Oh yeah, we're 1 turn away, right? So end of turn, we're going to draw a card here. I think Trey's just trying to do the math on how do I need this to work. I think we need Lightning Bolt plus
Boros
Charm.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do it. This is why we love Paper Magic, ladies and gentlemen. So if you do like this channel and you want to support it, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you throw a Amazon Prime if you've got one going spare, or if you just want to subscribe in general. It all helps bring this Paper Magic to you. And end of turn. This we're calling for 2.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is the check mark because you get
yep.
Scavenging Ooze, gain 2 life, and that basically prisons out all of Trey's outs.
That's top level play there by Elliot, realizing what's going on here. While the draw trigger is on the stacks, they can't draw into any cards into hand just yet. We're going to get to eat at least 1 creature in the graveyard, drop our life total up to 8. And we're going to get a second creature. Yeah, we're going to go up to 9 life. That should put us about a reach, and that should secure this game here for Elliot. We're going to be moments away. That's 1 card. It doesn't trigger the way you think, does it? Does it trigger?
Bowmaster?
I thought it was the second card you draw.
No, it's whenever you draw a card that's not inside your draw step.
Oh my god, I've been playing that card all wrong. Here we go. Fetch end of turn. Thin our deck a little bit. Give ourselves all the possible outs, even though me and you are pretty sure we can't do 9 damage off 2 cards. But we'll see. Remember, you are on camera. Got to get that little bit of camera time in. I imagine that you're not shy of a few feature matches or 2 back in the day, especially taking down a couple of GPs.
Not anymore. Not really, no. But basically, I think that match and game was a good demonstration of Yawgmoth is a deck that leverages life total discrepancies a lot. And in fact, you saw like Elliot basically turn the pressure on his opponent very quickly with the cutthroat in game 1, even though it didn't even look like it was going to beat that game 1. But then game 2, like he just had a fantastic start, put some creatures out and started attacking, and it worked out very well.
Yeah, kind of doing the game. Also knowing the game, and on paper, it's not meant to be, too great. It's a lot better than obviously you said the scam matchup we saw round 1. That is kind of brutal because they attack on multiple different axes of what the Yawgmoth deck is trying to do. Burn only on the one; they're only going to get to your face, and on the other side, getting stumbled on mana and just being able to have enough blockers and kind of value pushing forward. And we saw Elliot there manage to take that one down. Remember, he is going to go to the Pro Tour, which is in only a couple of weeks. But also, the winners of this weekend, the team that wins, are going to get themselves not only a nice, healthy chunk of money, they're all going to be able to get themselves invites to the next RC at DreamHacks. And if you're just tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Like, where you been? We're in round number 2. Don't worry, we've got 8 rounds of Swiss for you all here today. Tomorrow, we'll be back again with another 5 rounds, plus the cut to top 6. I know you haven't heard about that recently, cut to top 6. A new